Good afternoon, CYJ. Happy Tu B'Shvat. Happy New Year of the Trees. My name is Aaron Levine. I'm your assistant director, and I'm here coming to you from snowy Chicago. And I'm really excited to be here because Tu B'Shvat is one of my favorite holidays. It celebrates nature, which is something that I absolutely love. If you know me, I love being outside. I love growing vegetables. I love growing fruit. I like going for a hike. It's really just a great time. So I'm super pumped that you're all joining me here today. I think most of you are with us on Facebook, so I'm really excited about that. Um, I guess I'm broadcast all across the world because the internet is everywhere. That's amazing. So Tu B'Shvat, it's kind of hard to believe when we're in Chicago and it's the winter, that it's actually the beginning of the spring in the Middle East, and the first trees are blossoming, sometimes almonds. The sap and all the other trees are beginning to rise from the roots up through the trunk. And it's traditional to eat some fruits from Israel on Tu B'Shvat. So I actually have today, I have some dates. I have some grapes over there. You can actually grow grapes in Chicago. They're very yummy. I didn't bring olives or pomegranates today, but I'm sure all of you out there have a little bit of your own too. It's also good to have a fruit that you haven't tasted in a long time or ever. And I know that I have not had dates since last year. Those are these right here. I haven't had those since before like the last Jewish year. So it's really exciting for me because today I can try them and we can say a special blessing on those. So also, the holiday, it's changed it's changed a lot over time. And now it's like a time for us to affirm our relationship to the earth and our connection to nature. So it's a birthday of the trees. And so I might be asking questions. It's tradition I have on someone's birthday to ask them a bunch of questions. And so this time I'm going to be asking you all a bunch of questions about nature and Tu B'Shvat and some thoughts you have. So let's continue a little bit here. So very often people so what are some things you can do in nature? So very often people do stuff like take a walk with your friends or family, go on a hike. You might plant a tree or some seeds. If you want some experience planting seeds or want a little information on that, Kevin, maybe you could put a link in our Facebook or in our Zoom to our microgreens activity we did last year for Pesach. So even though the theme might be geared to Pesach or Passover from last year, you can still do the same activity here. And so we have instructions there that might be really good for you if that's something you want to do. So something that we do also is we have a Tu B'Shvat Seder. And so in the 16th century, a bunch of Kabbalists, which are the Jewish mystics, they created a Seder with some readings and a bunch of actions we do. So just like in the Passover Seder, where we do something experiential to understand the significance, which is like the 4 cups of wine and special food, we're going to do that here today too. So in every cup of wine represents something different, a different aspect of a fruit tree and of ourselves. So it's just some things to think about as we head into the Seder. So we're also gonna, as you know, unlike Pesach, it's not set on Pesach. You can always switch the colors of your wine on Passover. That's totally okay. But on this one, we go in an order, and we go from whiteness of the winter and having some white wine or grape juice, and you progress into fully red by the end, to mean the full sun, so that we're kind of experiencing the changes of the seasons. And there are a lot of interpretations and ways to find meaning in Tu B'Shvat. And so today is just a little piece of that. It doesn't necessarily have to be the only way that you connect to Tu B'Shvat. There are tons of ways to do that, and tons of ways to symbolize and to internalize the way you have a relationship with nature and a relationship with each other, and through that, a relationship even with God. So there are 4 directions, there are 4 seasons, there are 4 elements. Everything is a possible interpretation. So today we're going to eat different types of fruit representing different ways the trees give to us and representing a little bit of our own spiritual growth as we're starting out in this season. If you look outside, if you're anywhere in Chicago, you probably got, a bunch of snow last night. I know I cleaned off my car today to go pick up some of these wonderful fruits. And so that took me a solid 10 minutes. So it might be weird to look outside and be like, hey, I don't believe that the year is starting now. It's still dormant. But so that is just an example of how we're starting right now today to start our spiritual growth, even when it seems like it might not be possible. It's an opportunity to appreciate all the beauty around us, even if it's cold, and think about the ways that trees provide us food and shelter and beauty and air and some life lessons. So we're gonna get started a little bit like just about right now. So I just want to give a shout out to one of my favorite organizations, PJ Library. I'm using one of their Tu B'Shvat Seder guides, and I found it really meaningful, and they have a whole bunch of stuff on their website. So I just want to say a big thank you to them for making all this material available, because I learned a lot too as I was doing this. So the Tu B'Shvat Seder is a celebration of our relationship with nature, as I said, and a great time for reflection. So we're going to get started. So the first cup, this talks about the world of asiyah. That means actualization. So fruits and nuts. In this one, we're going to eat fruits and nuts with a hard outside and an edible inside. So if you are at your kitchen counter or at your table, the fruits that you want to have ready for this one are walnuts. They can have almonds. You can have pomegranates, coconuts, or pistachios. Some people might also have, oh no, that's everything. So those are the ones, and these ones have a hard outside and an edible inside. So what you might not know about the walnut or the almond and a lot of these nuts is that they come in a bigger, they're like encased in another shell. And they had to be cracked open so that we can eat them. And that part on the outside is something that we can't eat. So that's why it's considered to have a hard outside and an edible inside. So when we think about that, we're thinking about how sometimes you have to peel away and look a little deeper to find something that's different from its outward appearance. So on the outside, if you came across something like a walnut or an almond or a pomegranate, you wouldn't think to take a bite of that because that piece isn't edible. And it's only when you explore the inside of it that you realize that there's sustenance in there, that there's something hidden within. So and we think of this as it represents our tendency, as we say, to like judge a book by its cover. So it can represent the tendency we have to, maybe judge others by something that we see in them or something we hear from them or about them, but we don't actually know them. So this is something to think about for the rest of this year. Even we're starting in the Gregorian calendar, I think it is, that we're starting a new year, but we're about halfway through the Jewish New Year, and we still have a lot of time to improve our behavior before the next year. So this is a time when we can think about, have we judged a book by its cover this year? Have we judged somebody else or something else before we actually experienced it, or have we judged someone before we got to know them? So eating this fruit reminds us that whoever we are, we all have like a spark within us, that we're all special and that we're all worth knowing. So the first thing we're going to do is pour some wine, and then we'll get into, and in this case, I have some fancy grape juice with bubbles. Makes me, it's just more fun to drink that way, and that's why I got it. So, and then I also have some regular grape juice. But I got the bubbly kind for the white grape juice. So for this one, you're going to want to pour a glass of white wine or white grape juice and say the blessing. So I'm going to pour my glass right now. I have 2 glasses just in case one already has like the red wine in it. I don't want to contaminate it too much. Okay, I might get some more glasses. That just might make it easier. I'm actually going to grab 2 more real quick. So just in case you didn't know, I'm joining you from CYJ Kitchens, a really cool kitchen studio that also happens to be located in my house. It's amazing. Okay, so for this one, so I have my 4 glasses over here. So this one, I just poured the white, in my case, sparkling grape juice, and we're going to say a blessing. And for this one, we have to drink half or more of this. You do not need to drink all of it. Okay, so for this one, we say the blessing for the wine and grape juice. So that's Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Borei Pri Hagafen, and then you drink half of it. Yeah, that's pretty good. So Then the next time we have to do, the next thing we're going to do is taste the fruit. So we're going to have my almonds here. So this is for the first one. We're going to do the almonds. Let's see what we have for the blessing. I don't know if there's a blessing. I think it's Barei Mine Mezonot for this one. I don't see one for beforehand, and this one will just apply to everything. So I'm going to say Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Barei Mine Mezonot. Yum. Okay, that was delicious. Now, I'm someone who I like roasted almonds in salt, and some people like them with varying levels of candied. So some sugar on there. Some people like them with honey. They're all very good. I did get some honey. Oh, I should get my honey. Boom. Okay, there's my honey. You can see it in the screen, maybe. Okay, so that was the almonds. And so then the next one we're going to do is a shehafianu. So this is what we say when we experience something for the first time. So this is the first time I'm doing a Tu B'Shvat Seder with CYJ, and the first time I'm doing it this year. You might also say it when you eat a fruit for the first time. So like I talked about before, I haven't had a date this year. So I'm going to want to say the blessing over that. So that goes like this. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Shehafianu V'Kiyamanu V'Higianu Lazman Hazeh. And that means, blessed are you, the one who has kept us alive and sustained us so that we could reach this moment. And we're so thankful for being here today. Oh, this is good. I'm very happy I'm drinking that. They're eating that date. It's very tasty. I haven't had one since last year. That's delicious. So the next thing we're going to do is, so first of all, we had the white grape juice that represents the winter. That's kind of like the beginning of our season. Next one is the spring. So for the springtime, that's cup number 2. So this one, we're going to get it ready in advance. So we're going to drink our second cup of wine. So this one, you're going to pour your white wine or grape juice, and the fizzy grape juice. And for this one, then you're going to get your red grape juice, and you're just going to add a couple drops of the red or purple, depending on what you bought. So I'm going to add just a few drops. So it kind of has like a little like rosy color. And so when we drink this, we're going to be thinking about that each new stream that comes from the melting snow in the spring, it starts with a little trickle, and every single flower starts with a bud, and just a few drops of color transform the hue of the wine, and just a few new flowers can transform our landscape. Just like that, it will feel like winter's over and spring has begun. So all you need is like a little drop of what we think of as the red wine, and it brings a whole different atmosphere to the spring. So I'm going to say the blessing over the wine for this one. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Borei Pri Hagafen. Great. So for the next one, we're going to eat seeds or fruits with the pits at the center. So for you, that could be cherries, olives, plums, apricots. I have some apricots today. I have my cherries today. So anything with a pit in the center. Now my cherries have pits. I think the apricots have been pitted already, so I don't have to worry about that, but they still count because they did have that. And even though that we are discarding the pit, we have to remember that those are seeds. That's like the way that nature is reborn, planting a seed. So that's a big part of this one. That in springtime is when you might plant seeds outside in your garden. So this is a good time to think about, do you have a garden at home? What are you planting? Put in the comments what might be in your garden. I'm really interested to know what you're growing. It also reminds us that every flowering tree was once bare, and that all the growth can sometimes come from the most innocent place. And they can symbolize the potential that we don't have tapped. So it's like the first little bit of growth we're experiencing, and it's just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak. We're just realizing what's new. So I'm going to eat my apricot. Okay, I don't think I've ever eaten a meal on live Facebook, so this is like a new thing for me. Kind of fun. So as we're getting ready for the next cup, the third cup, but before we do that, I want you to think about something you've done or something you've created, and it started out small, maybe even very small, and became a lot bigger and more important over time. So that could be, again, like planting a tree. It could be a project you were working on. It could be an idea you had with a friend, and it just started. You're sitting down eating some ice cream and talking about something with your friend, and then all of a sudden it became about a project, and all of a sudden it became real. The more and more you worked at it. So this is the beginning of that process. That section was called the world of Yetzirah, the formation. So that was the second cup. Now the third cup, this is the world of Beriah, that means creation. And that means fruits that are entirely edible. So I'm gonna refill this glass. So I have about this much white grape juice. So I'm gonna fill, this one should be half and half. So half red and half white. So this one is white with a drop of red. So I'm gonna fill up the other half with the red or purple, depending on how you think of it and what your expertise is with grapes. So now it's gonna look something like this. It's almost like a cherry color. Is that about right? Yeah, it's about right. It's almost like a cherry, maybe not as dark. And so for the third cup, we're gonna drink this, and it's now, like I said, a half cup of red and a half cup of white. And it represents the summertime. So even though the trees will be full and green and their flowers are blossoming, their growth isn't complete, and there's so much more to come. These fruits remind us of the wholeness of the world, where everything is used, and trees get their nutrients from the soil, and their leaves actually create the soil. So they take those nutrients from the soil, they grow new leaves, and then in the fall those leaves drop and they decompose and turn into more soil that the tree will use again for more growth. So nature nourishes everything, and we can look at the fruit of our own creations and see how when we make something, how much more comes of it, and how are we giving more to other people. That might be through our creations. And so that might be something to think about as we are trying to connect to the earth. Much like a tree would drop its leaves, and the leaves can go anywhere and help out any plant in the future. They're not keeping it for themselves. So this is a time to think about when do you feel truly whole and happy? So when are you fulfilled? When are you doing what you're supposed to do? So for this one, I'm going to drink some grape juice. And again, while I'm eating the fruit, so for this one, it could be a grape or a raisin, pears, apples, blueberries. And while I'm thinking, again, or while I'm eating, you should think about how you feel truly whole and happy. What makes you feel happy? Okay, so now we're down to our final cup. This is the world of Atzilut, presence, or emanation, or birth. So for this one, we're going to pour a nearly full glass of red wine, or red grape juice. So I'm going to pour, I'm not going to make it totally full, because that would be just too much grapefruit or grape juice for me to take. And this time you pour, just like in the last one, we did a couple drops. It was half and half, and we did a couple drops of red grape juice. This time we're going to do a couple drops of the white. Cool. So it lightens the color a little bit. And this time is we put the drops of white, and they are supposed to remind us of the first cup from the Seder and how nature runs in a cycle. So this is like the full circle of where we were at the beginning of this, that nature works in a cycle. And this final section represents what's visible to the eye. So instead of eating fruit. And this one, we're actually gonna be smelling something that is like, has a strong smell. So you might think of cinnamon, rosemary, a bay leaf, cedar if you have it. So we're thinking about how this is like a full cycle, and it might be what's invisible to the eye. So we can't see that we've come full circle. We just have to know it. It's something, it's like a revelation we have. It's an understanding. So for this one, instead of eating fruit, we're going to enjoy some sweet smells. So I've gotten some rosemary, which is really fun to grow if you have a garden. Really simple to grow. You can actually keep it alive in the winter as long as you don't overwater it. And it has a really sweet smell. So I really like smelling that. And it kind of gives me a reminder of summer. And beyond the cycle of eating is the cycle of breathing. That's another part of this. So when something lives both within and without us at the same time, when it's like so much a part of us that we can't even see it, that's kind of like a smell. It awakens our senses. So at this level, all things are already part of each other. So once I smell this, I feel at one with the rosemary, and we have a kind of connection with the earth and each other and with God that, the smells help us remember that connection. And we have like a feel for the soil when we're smelling the smells of the outdoors, which might be hard to come by in the wintertime, but come the spring and summer, you'll definitely experience those. And it also talks to us about the changing of the colors, changing the leaves, and how birds migrate north and south for the seasons, and that they go through a life cycle too. So as we're smelling this and drinking our last cup of grape juice, I want you to remember and appreciate what you can't see. So the things that you don't know yet, the things that you don't know, and the things that you don't know, but you're going to find out. So this is like a whole way of like being present and like a rebirth of your mind. Oh, that smells great. Now I'm going to taste the grape juice. So in this new year, we're going to conclude by, we actually have a closing blessing, and it goes like this. This is after we eat all the fruit, we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei nafashot rabot v'chesronan al kol me shebarata l'chayot bahem nefesh kol chai baruch chai ha'olamim. And that means, blessed are you, the one who created so many different living things, all needing each other to make one life, interwoven through them all as one soul. Blessed be the life of all worlds. So I hope that you were able to take something from this. May this new year of the trees begin a new year of growth for you and your family. May it be a year of renewal for our trees and for us. We definitely like having all our trees around. And I know at camp, it's a big part. We have trees all around our bunks. And may our blessings give strength to the trees. And may our eyes be open to the wonders of creation. And may we nurture the world that nurtures us. So thank you for joining us here today. I'm so happy that you're able to tune in for a little bit on Facebook Live and on Zoom. It makes me so happy to see you. And I'm even more happy because I get to eat all of these delicious fruits as part of my dinner and snacks throughout the week. So thank you so much for joining me, and have a great rest of your week.